Excuse
Okay.
me, the mic was off.
It's okay. It
Okay,
happens.
I join
Uh,
all the other speakers to thank you very much for organizing this session.
Thank
I
you.
must also say that I join all what has been said with a lot of accuracy and strong words. All what has been said, I can just endorse it and join my words. I'm not only a professor of international humanitarian law in both in Mexico and in Paris, in Sciences Po Paris, but also I'm the president of a newly created association which is called lawyers for the respect of international law, in particular focusing on that particular armed conflict and situation, not only especially in the occupied
I
Palestinian occupied
I I,
territory.
th I think it's very indicative name, and to say that the respect of international law. I think that's the real question
Yeah.
we really want to answer here.
And as you certainly, I don't know how it is in Britain today, but nor in the Middle East. I've not been there for some time now. But just talking about humanitarian law is critical and very important because that's the only referee about the words we use, the qualification of the situation we make, as well as the law applicable and the qualification of the crimes. Many have been mentioned, including by the prosecutor and by the court now. And that is very important because what was at stake so far is the very credibility and integrity of international law, and in particular of international humanitarian law, these essential considerations of humanity, these laws of humanities, as well as these requirements of the public conscience, because we are just there where we are all under the shock that these fundamental bases before barbarism have been shaken, and which is shaking, including the international peace and security and the conscience. So it's not only a moral, but it's a legal perspective. And all the structure of international law have been put at stake in the world. The very obligation, the most imperative obligations of international law, which are enshrined in humanitarian law, which are these laws of humanity that I mentioned, the obligation to respect and to ensure respect in all circumstances of these norms and fundamental principles, not only have been violated, but most of the states, particularly the Western states in the world, have not implemented and respected their obligation to ensure respect in all circumstances. And that is certainly the most critical thing which has put international law at stake and has shaken its credibility. The decision of the court, very late, very late. All what has been said is very true. It's very late, but at least for the first time, but at least I would say the court has saved its neck, has saved its neck. This credibility would have disappeared if ever it had not taken the decision to issue this arrest warrants. And so this is very important. For the first time also, a non-African state or leaders is put on trial or would be put on trial. That's very important. That Israeli, at last, is recognized, its criminal character of its practices is put into the spotlight, and it comes after the orders of the ICJ, which is also very important. The three orders violated, even though they are binding, the very advisory opinion of the court on the occupation on the 19th of July. All this shows that nevertheless, the lawyers are right to continue to believe and struggle for the respect of the law. And it will help in all the dimensions which have been mentioned by my predecessors. The impact will be certainly important, not only because these two persons will not be able to travel, but just because it gives us leverage all over the world to push forward for more respect of the law and to come back to something a little bit different. I believe it will have a huge impact. So the Israeli exception is over, at least so far. The Western powers, some of them, you've mentioned France. I called speaking to you from Paris. Are being put. I mean, their double standards is the vision that the world has of their double standards is put also in bright light. and it's absolutely shameful. And at the end of the day, the Rome Statute prevails and will prevail. France has issued, as you know, a declaration saying that they will not respect the arrest warrant on behalf, because pretending referring to Article 98 of the Rome Statute, which is absolutely irrelevant, because Article 27 is relevant. And Article 27 says that equally that the parties shall apply equally without any distinction based on official capacity. And we all know that all states, parties to the Rome Statute, have had to review their constitutions in order to withdraw this type of immunity from their heads of states or heads of government. All of them. In my own capacity in the past, for many years, I've been visiting and touring many countries of the world so that they would make these constitutional changes in order to join and adhere or ratify the Rome Statute. So it's a very important thing, and that at least and of course France has taken this decision. Everybody sees that for political reasons, but that's not. I would say it's very shameful, and it has. I hope that not too many countries will do the same. So my word is a word of victory of the law, is a word that the international law has been at least safe for some time. The ICC will recover some credibility, and of course it will take time. But all what my predecessors said is very true. It will open the way for, we know one day, other command and control officers within IDF or political leaders. We know that other crimes, and of course genocide is there, and the crime against humanity, of extermination. But I would say that if you look at Article 8 of the Rome Statute on war crimes, A and B, most of those crimes have been committed or are committed daily. So there is a door open to more, and not to speak about settlements and what is taking place in the West Bank, and ethnic cleansing, even though it's not a war, it's not an international crime defined as such, but at least its components. So we are certainly, the door is certainly open for lawyers to continue to struggle, for you as journalists, as all the militants active in defending international law and also the right of Palestinians, including their right to self-determination, will be have the capacity today, or have they feel like with more envy or more strength to continue to struggle. And it will have an impact. It will have an impact on transfer of weapons. It will have an impact because violating the ATT, violating the ICJ orders, violating or disregarding the advisory opinion of the ICJ, and now violating the Rome Statute in not implementing and arresting or surrendering these war criminals and these two Israeli leaders, would certainly have a great impact, including in political terms. So that's a little bit what I wanted to say. Yes, this decision is late. We know the circumstances, but it's very significant. It will have a huge impact, including in the eventual possible settlement of the conflict. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. But let me just make use of the opportunity to ask you one question. Is it enough that a country is not a signatory of ICC? Is it enough to evade accountability? And that's it? From a legal point of view.
From a legal point of view, the argument was to say that international customary law could eventually be, which is the argument that France has used, from my understanding at least, to express their position, is just not acceptable because it would contradict the obligation with regard to the Rome Statute. And that is, Article 27 is very clear, and Article 98 cannot be opposed to it. So I would say that it will have an impact for all other. Remember the case of that finally didn't prevail when prosecutor Ben Sousa has not been able to go forward with the case in Afghanistan and CIA and Pakistan. Such a situation may evaluate, and so it might give more strength. And I will remind everyone here that within a few days, there will be the Assembly of State Parties in The Hague of the Rome Statute, and I'm sure that there the 123 countries, high contracting parties to the Rome Statute, will have a say and will suddenly have issue a statement on this particular issue to defend the statute, because this is now the task of all the member states or state parties to the Rome Statute to defend the integrity of the statute. Because I shall remember the importance of the law of treaty, which says that pacta sunt servanda, that the treaty binds all the states, which have an obligation to respect these imperative jus cogens norms, which and to ensure the prosecution of all the worst crimes, in particular war crimes, through universal jurisdiction. Because not only there is the ICC with this complementary jurisdiction, there is also an obligation of states to exercise their universal jurisdiction within their own national tribunals. And so it means that nowhere, and there is no exception to that, all states are parties to the Geneva Conventions, and all states have the obligation to have included in their own legislation legislation instituting in universal jurisdiction. Not all have done, but that's an obligation. So in other words, through law, as long as law can prevail over force in a future world order, this type of situation should be, I mean, this type of authors of such crimes would not be able to sleep quietly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick.